The sky above Earth had never looked so strange. Satellites and telescopes picked up unusual signals at first, streams of metallic objects moving faster than anything known to science. At first, scientists assumed it was some kind of cosmic anomaly, maybe debris from a comet or a new asteroid field. But as the days passed, the pattern became clear. The objects were not random. They were organized. They were moving with intent. The world called them the metal horrors. Entire cities held their breath as images of distant planets showed landscapes stripped bare, forests shredded, and oceans drained. These machines consumed everything in their path, leaving nothing alive behind. No species had ever stopped them, and many in the galaxy believed none could. Humanity, still young in cosmic terms, had never faced anything like this. But unlike other worlds, humans had a trait that had carried them from primitive tribes to advanced technology: adaptability. Across Earth, nations argued and debated, yet beneath the political quarrels was a quiet determination. Humans would not wait to be destroyed. In Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and New Delhi, scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Military leaders studied the speed and behavior of the metal horrors. Civilians watched broadcasts in disbelief, yet from chaos a plan began to form. Existing naval ships, cargo vessels, even space stations were retrofitted. Engineers installed energy shields, magnetic repulsion fields, and makeshift weapons. What the world lacked in advanced alien technology, it made up for with creativity. Aboard the orbital command station Horizon, Captain Amara Lin stood at the viewport, watching the swarm of approaching metal storms. Her eyes reflected the faint light bouncing off the machines. They were enormous yet agile. Their forms were strange, like polished steel forests, moving with purpose but with no visible mind. "Sir," a young officer called, "the horrors are within 20,000 kilometers. They're descending on the Pacific. Impact in less than 30 minutes. Amara clenched her jaw. "All fleets prepare for engagement. Remember, we don't have their firepower, but we have something they won't expect: us. Human creativity, human instinct. We adapt. That is our weapon." The fleets moved into position. Across the world, cities went dark as defensive systems powered up. Humans had learned quickly that the metal horrors responded to energy, radiation, and predictable patterns. That meant conventional attacks, massive laser strikes, or missiles would only help them adapt faster. Instead, humans began improvising. Cargo ships were converted into decoy vessels, broadcasting false energy signatures. Civilian satellites were networked to interfere with the horrors' sensors. Small fighter craft, faster and more maneuverable, darted between the larger battleships, striking weak points and retreating before retaliation. Above all, Amara knew the key was unpredictability. The horrors had no emotion, no fear, no hesitation, but humans did, and that would become their greatest advantage. Meanwhile, in the vastness of space, the elder species watched. Ships that were centuries old, spanning kilometers, hovered silently at the edge of the solar system. The elders, ancient beings of knowledge and power, had never intervened before. To them, humanity was insignificant, barely a curiosity. Yet the swiftness of human adaptation caught their attention. No species had dared to challenge the metal horrors in millennia. Why did these humans resist? The elder ships remained distant, cloaked in observation. They did not intervene yet. The galaxy had always relied on experience, on age, on caution. Humans relied on intuition, on daring, on trying what others considered impossible. The elders did not understand it, but they watched, intrigued. Back on Earth, the first encounter began. The metal horrors descended toward the Pacific Ocean, their forms glinting in the sunlight. Waves erupted as massive machines crashed into the water, their lower sections dissolving the seas beneath them. Cities along the coast braced for destruction. "Launch all vessels," Amara commanded. "Use everything we've built. Remember, we are humans. We fight differently. Think, adapt, survive." From orbital stations to surface fleets, humanity surged forward. The battleships, heavy yet agile, moved into the path of the horrors. Magnetic fields bent to shield the ships. Explosive drones programmed for erratic movement created confusion. Fighter crafts darted between the machines, striking the weaker joints. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were unpredictable. And unpredictability was something the metal horrors had never encountered. For hours, the battle raged. Machines fell. Some were destroyed completely. Others malfunctioned and turned against each other. Across the world, people watched the fight in awe. Children clutched their parents' hands, not out of fear but hope. Humanity had never faced a threat like this, and yet they were fighting back. Amara observed the battlefield, her mind racing. The metal horrors were learning, adapting. Every tactic the humans invented forced the machines to evolve. It was a deadly game of chess, but one the humans intended to win. "We keep moving," she muttered. "We keep changing. They cannot predict us, and that is the advantage no one else in the galaxy has given humanity." In orbit, a strange shimmer appeared. Elder ships, colossal and silent, had moved closer. Their presence was unsettling, yet there was no attack. It was observation, curiosity. Humanity had caught their attention, and the elders had questions. Back on Earth, engineers continued to work. Entire cities had converted factories into assembly lines for weapons and drones. Civilians were trained as auxiliary operators for sensor arrays and communications. The planet had become one enormous living fighting system. Every human contributed, from scientists and soldiers to farmers and teachers. Together, they were the engine that powered the battleships. Night fell over the Pacific. The sea burned with the fires of combat. Machines crashed, metal bent, water boiled, yet the human fleet pressed on. Captain Lin's voice crackled through the comms, steady and confident. "We are small, we are young, but we are human. And tonight, we show the galaxy that life from this small blue planet is not so easily defeated." For the first time, the metal horrors faltered. Their formations broke, their attacks became confused. The improvised tactics of humans, striking from unexpected angles, using the planet itself as a weapon, were working. Humanity, young and untested, had inflicted damage no one thought possible. And across the stars, the elder species took note. Perhaps these humans were more than just survivors. Perhaps they were something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that could defy the unstoppable, not with sheer power but with courage, creativity, and unity. By the end of the night, the battle slowed. The metal horrors withdrew temporarily, regrouping in orbit. Humans had won a small victory, but more importantly, they had proven a point. The young, unpredictable species from Earth could fight, and they would not be ignored. Captain Lin gazed at the horizon from the deck of the Dauntless. The sky was scorched, yet there was a strange beauty in the chaos. Humanity had survived the first wave of the metal horrors, but she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching, ancient eyes observing. And when the next attack came, humans would be ready, not because they were the strongest, but because they were human. In that moment, Earth did not just fight for survival. It announced itself as a player in the cosmic theater, a young species with a spirit no machine or elder could easily predict. The sky above the Pacific burned with light. Explosions lit up the clouds as human battleships clashed with the metal horrors. The ocean boiled beneath the weight of the machines, and the wind carried the scent of burning metal and salt. Humanity had survived the first wave, but the battle was far from over. Captain Amara Lin stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, her eyes scanning the chaos below. Each strike of the enemy brought new challenges. The metal horrors moved with precision and speed, reacting to human tactics faster than any scientist had predicted. Yet humans were not bound by programming. They could think, adapt, and invent in the moment. "Captain," Lieutenant Soren reported, "the horrors are learning. Their formations are changing to counter our decoys and drones. They are adapting to our energy shields," Amara frowned. "Good," she said simply. "That means we are effective. If they weren't changing, it would mean we're predictable. We are not predictable. We are human. Now find something they cannot anticipate." Across the fleet, human engineers and pilots worked tirelessly. Cargo vessels converted into mobile energy shields darted through the waves, drawing fire away from the battleships. Fighter craft swooped between the machines, striking exposed joints before retreating into the clouds. Even small satellites in orbit were reprogrammed to interfere with the horror's sensors, creating phantom images and false signals. The metal horrors hesitated. For the first time, they hesitated. Their machines paused, scanned, and recalculated. It was a pause no species had ever witnessed. Humans did not fear. They pressed forward. On the flagship bridge, Amara's communications officer reported, "Incoming transmission, sir." "It's not from the horrors." "Unknown signal. No language detected, just observation." Amara's eyes narrowed. "The elders," she whispered. "They are watching." The elder species had remained distant observers until now. Ancient, massive civilizations, they had seen countless worlds fall to the metal horrors. But no species had fought back until humanity. The elders did not intervene, yet their presence was palpable. Ships the size of mountains hovered silently beyond Earth's orbit, their forms bending light and space in ways humans could barely comprehend. "They are not here to fight," Amara said. "They are here to see if we survive." Meanwhile, the battle intensified. The metal horrors regrouped, their attacks more precise, their movements faster. One massive machine struck a human battleship with crushing force. The Endurance, a converted cargo vessel armed with experimental energy cannons, shuddered under the impact. Fire spread along the deck. Sailors and engineers rushed to contain the damage, but the ship's captain, Lieutenant Rami, refused to give up. "Divert power to shields," he shouted. "Activate the counter-drone swarms. Hit them back." From the chaos, a new strategy emerged. Human engineers had discovered that the metal horrors relied on certain frequencies to communicate internally. Using improvised transmission arrays, they began sending false signals, making the horrors attack one another. Within minutes, some machines turned on their companions, creating confusion and destruction within the enemy ranks. Captain Amara watched the scene unfold, a mixture of awe and pride filling her. Humanity had no alien technology, no centuries of experience, yet they were teaching these unstoppable machines to fear humans, not with strength alone, but with ingenuity. In the skies above, fighter crafts weaved through fire and metal. Pilots like Jae-min and Lila Torres became legends in the making. Using speed and unpredictability, they struck at weak points in the horrors, sometimes diving into the water to avoid counterattacks, then resurfacing to fire again. Each maneuver was daring, reckless, yet effective. Humans were small, yes, but every strike carried the weight of the planet's survival. The metal horrors adapted again, forming tighter clusters and using larger machines to shield smaller ones. Yet the humans were ready. Engineers had created specialized magnetic fields to disrupt the coordination of enemy clusters. Massive drones were sent into the enemy lines, programmed to explode in patterns designed to confuse the horrors further. Every new tactic forced the machines to recalculate, and every calculation cost them time. Time the humans used to press the attack. As night fell, the battle continued. Explosions lit the ocean like a second sun. Ships moved like living creatures, responding to commands faster than any computer. Humans had turned Earth itself into a weapon. Ocean currents were used to slow enemy machines. Magnetic anomalies interfered with their movement, and entire cities became sensor arrays feeding information to the fleet. Some of the elder species' ships moved closer, silent observers. Amara could feel their presence as she coordinated attacks. The elders had never seen a species fight like this. Their civilizations were powerful, but they relied on experience, rules, and predictability. Humans had no such limits. Every failure became a lesson, every strike an opportunity. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Amara addressed the fleet through a comm system that spanned the globe. "Humans," she said, her voice steady and inspiring. "We are small. We are young, but we are unpredictable. The metal horrors have never faced us before. They do not know what we can do. Think, adapt, survive. Make them fear humans. Tonight we fight not just for Earth, but for every species that has watched in silence for centuries. Let them see what we are capable of." The response was immediate. Every ship, every pilot, every operator acted with renewed vigor. They moved as one, not because of fear or orders alone, but because they understood something deeper. Survival required creativity, courage, and unity. In the heat of the battle, human ingenuity reached its peak. Engineers aboard the Dauntless devised a magnetic pulse cannon, a weapon that could temporarily disable a cluster of metal horrors. Using the planet's magnetic field, the cannon sent waves through the ocean and the air, disrupting enemy coordination. Machines faltered, turned against each other, and broke apart. The metal horrors had never seen resistance like this. They adapted quickly, yes, but humans adapted faster. Every time a new machine joined the fight, humans found a way to counter it. Every failed tactic became a stepping stone for the next success. Across the Pacific, survivors watched as the human fleet fought with determination. Cities had become beacons of hope, their lights synchronized with the fleet's movements. People realized that humanity was not just defending itself, it was leading. Other species might have had more experience, but humans had heart. By dawn, The first wave of metal horrors had been driven back, though at great cost. Battleships were damaged, fighter craft destroyed, and lives lost. Yet the humans had proven a point. They had survived. They had fought back. And in doing so, they had captured the attention of the elder species. Captain Amara Lynn looked out from the Dauntless's bridge as the horizon turned golden. The ocean was scarred, smoke and fire rising from the waves, but humanity had survived. The elders remained distant but attentive. They had watched, and perhaps for the first time in centuries, they were unsure how this young species would act next. "Report," Amara said softly. "Enemy retreating temporarily," Lieutenant Soren replied. "Damage control underway across the fleet. We've inflicted serious losses, but we've also taken heavy hits." Amara nodded. "Good, prepare for the next wave. They will not give up. And neither will we." The battle had proven that humans were not merely survivors. They were warriors of intellect, courage, and unpredictability, and the galaxy would remember this night. When young humans faced the unstoppable and showed that iron and flesh together could defy the greatest threat the stars had ever known, the elder species observed silently. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter in the galaxy's history. Perhaps humans, young and small, would redefine what it meant to fight, to survive, and to stand among the stars. As Captain Lynn looked to the horizon, she whispered more to herself than anyone else, "We are human, and we will not be defeated." The calm after the storm was brief. The first wave of the metal horrors had retreated, but Captain Amara Lynn knew it was only temporary. Humanity had survived, but the machines were adaptive, relentless, and intelligent in their own mechanical way. The real challenge was yet to come. High above Earth, in orbit, massive ships from the elder species drifted silently. They were enormous, spanning kilometers, their surfaces gleaming with unknown energy. Their forms twisted light, bending it as though reality itself obeyed them. No human technology could compare. The elders had watched humanity fight, astonished by what a young species could do. For centuries, they had witnessed countless civilizations fall to the metal horrors. Yet here were humans, small, untested, yet remarkably resilient. Aboard the Dauntless, Amara paced the bridge. Reports poured in from fleets scattered across the Pacific. Battleships had taken damage, fighter crafts had been lost, yet humans had inflicted unexpected losses on the enemy. Engineers scrambled to repair vessels mid-battle, improvising with whatever materials they could find. Civilians turned volunteers became operators, monitoring sensors and assisting with communications. Humanity's strength was not just technology, it was unity. Lieutenant Soren broke the silence. "Captain, sensors are picking up unusual energy readings from the elders' ships. They're not hostile. They're observing, but their presence is affecting the horror's movements." Amara narrowed her eyes. "They're learning from us, or testing us." The elder species had never intervened before. Their civilizations were ancient, vast, and wise. They believed in patience, observation, and measured response. But humans did not operate in the same way. Humans adapted in real time, learned through experience, and acted with instinct. This was foreign to the elders, who had relied on methodical strategies for millennia. On Earth, scientists worked tirelessly to understand the new data. The elders' energy fields interacted with the planet in strange ways, subtly amplifying communications, shielding, and sensor networks. Humans realized they could use this to their advantage. By syncing their fleets with the faint resonance of the elder ships, human engineers enhanced their own defensive systems and communications. What the elders may have intended as passive observation became an unintentional gift for humanity. Across the globe, preparations were underway. Cities had become command centers. Factories, laboratories, and universities had been repurposed into war support facilities. Civilian engineers designed drones and shields, while military officers coordinated strategy. The boundaries between soldier and citizen blurred. Every human contribution mattered. Meanwhile, the metal horrors regrouped. Their approach was cautious, almost deliberate. The first clash had taught them fear of humans' unpredictable tactics. Machines that once moved in flawless precision now hesitated, recalculating every strike. Yet their numbers grew and their designs evolved. New forms appeared, heavier, faster, and more complex. Humanity faced the possibility that they might be pushed to the brink. In the midst of preparation, a signal emerged. It was unlike any human transmission. The elders were communicating, not to attack, but to communicate with one another and indirectly with humanity. Strange symbols, pulses, and waves appeared in the data, patterns that human scientists could barely understand. Yet they grasped one thing clearly: the elders were impressed. On the Dauntless, Amara gathered her senior officers. They're not here to help, or at least not yet. But they are watching us. They want to see how a young species handles the threat no one else could stop. That means they recognize our potential. Lieutenant Rami, captain of the Endurance, spoke up. Potential is not enough, Captain. We need action. If the horrors return, can we withstand them again? Amara nodded slowly. We will not just withstand them. We will fight smarter. We have learned from the first clash. They cannot predict humans, and that is our greatest weapon. Adaptation, creativity, courage, that is why we survive. With renewed determination, the fleet moved into strategic positions. Earth itself became part of the defense. Satellites, magnetic fields, ocean currents, and even weather patterns were used to create traps and barriers for the horrors. Human ingenuity turned the planet into a living shield, each city, each facility contributing to the global effort. The elder species remained observers, but their presence was more direct now. Tiny changes in their energy fields subtly reinforced human defenses, not out of alliance but curiosity. The elders wanted to see how far humans could push themselves. Could this species, small and inexperienced, outthink a foe that had ended countless civilizations? In the Pacific, a squadron of human battleships led by Amara advanced toward a cluster of newly designed metal horrors. These machines were faster, stronger, and more complex than the first wave. But humans had learned to fight differently. The squadron used decoy ships to lure the machines into traps. Magnetic pulses disrupted coordination. Fighter craft attacked weak points with pinpoint accuracy. Every move was unpredictable, adaptive, and deadly. One of the elder ships observed closely, projecting a low-frequency signal that humans could detect. Scientists quickly realized it resonated with certain patterns in the horror's design. By subtly modifying their tactics to align with these frequencies, humans were able to amplify the confusion within the enemy ranks. Machines turned on each other, malfunctioned, and self-destructed. Captain Amara's voice rang across the fleet. Humanity is small, but we are mighty in our minds. Think, adapt, survive. Show them what humans can do. The battle raged for hours. Fires lit up the water, and the horizon burned with the chaos of war. Fighter craft darted through explosions. Battleships maneuvered with precision, and engineers repaired damage faster than the enemy could inflict it. Humans had no luxury of time, yet every moment became an opportunity for ingenuity. In orbit, the elder observers communicated silently among themselves. One ancient vessel projected a pattern of light toward Earth, almost as if acknowledging the humans' tactics. It was subtle, but Amara noticed the faint signals and shared the findings with her engineers. They're recognizing us, she said, not as soldiers, but as a species that can think, create, and survive against impossible odds. Meanwhile, new forms of metal horrors emerged. These were larger, more dangerous, and capable of coordinated attacks. Yet humanity had evolved too. Engineers devised magnetic nets to trap clusters of machines. Fighter pilots like Jae-min and Lila Torres carried out daring maneuvers that disrupted enemy formations. Even small drones caused chaos by interfering with sensors and communication. Humans were not strong individually, but together they formed a force no machine had anticipated. As night fell, the battle reached a critical point. The humans managed to isolate a cluster of the most advanced horrors and, using a combination of magnetic pulses, explosive drones, and coordinated strikes, destroyed them completely. This victory sent a clear message. Humans could not only survive, they could dominate through strategy, intelligence, and unity. Across the stars, the elder species observed silently. They had seen countless civilizations crumble before the metal horrors, yet here was humanity, small, young, and fearless. Humans had survived not by brute strength, but by creativity, courage, and the will to adapt. The elders realized something remarkable. This species had a spark no machine, no ancient civilization could predict. On Earth, Captain Amara addressed her fleet. The elders are watching and the horrors will return, but we are ready. We have learned. We adapt, we survive. This is what it means to be human. Not just to endure, but to fight, to think, and to rise above impossible odds. The fleet responded with a resounding cheer, their morale strengthened. Humanity had not only survived another day, they had earned respect from beings that had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They were no longer just survivors of their own planet. They were rising stars in the galaxy, young yet fearless, capable of facing threats that older, wiser species had failed to conquer. As dawn broke over the Pacific, Amara gazed at the horizon. Smoke and fire rose from the waves, but humanity had survived. The elder species' ships remained in orbit, distant yet attentive, silent witnesses to a young species proving its worth. Captain Lin whispered, almost to herself, "We are young, but we are human." And that is enough to challenge the impossible. In that moment, Earth was more than a planet under attack. It was a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and resilience. A young civilization showing the galaxy that survival was not just about strength, but about heart, courage, and creativity. The elder species had witnessed it, and the metal horrors had learned a new truth. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was deadly. Humanity had survived the second wave. They had fought, adapted, and grown stronger. And in the eyes of the galaxy's oldest beings, they had earned a place, not as mere observers, but as equals in the theater of cosmic survival. The galaxy watched in silence as humanity prepared for the next stage of the war. The metal horrors had retreated for now, but they would return. Captain Amara Lin knew this. Every second of delay was precious, yet it gave humans time to adapt, innovate, and prepare. Earth had become a hub of activity. Cities had been rebuilt to serve as command centers and factories for new technologies. Engineers designed new weapons, enhanced the battleships, and even modified fighter crafts to strike faster, dodge more precisely, and act unpredictably. Every innovation was tested against simulations of the horror's attacks, each one pushing the limits of human ingenuity. Aboard the Dauntless, Amara studied the latest designs. Magnetic pulse cannons, energy shields, and modified AI-guided drones had been integrated into the fleet. Every human vessel, from converted cargo ships to nimble fighter crafts, carried equipment designed to exploit the horror's weaknesses. Lieutenant Soren approached the captain. "Captain, our sensors have detected multiple new clusters forming beyond the asteroid belt. They're larger than before, faster, and they've integrated some of the machines we disabled in the last battle. They've learned from us." Amara nodded grimly. "Good. That means our last encounter had an effect, but it also means we need to evolve faster, prepare the fleet. This is no longer just defense. This is our counterattack. Humanity will strike first, strike hard, and strike smart." Across the globe, humans worked tirelessly. Satellites were synchronized to feed real-time data to the fleet. Cities served as relay stations for communications. Engineers converted ocean currents, magnetic fields, and even volcanic energy into weapons and defenses. Humans had turned the planet itself into a strategic advantage. Every move was calculated yet unpredictable, turning Earth into a living ally. In orbit, the elder species observed closely. Unlike before, some elders moved closer to provide subtle guidance. Not interference, but slight enhancements to human technology. Ancient beings who had seen countless civilizations fall now watched in quiet awe. Humans had no centuries of experience, yet they displayed a brilliance and adaptability unmatched by many older species. The first clash of the counterattack began at the outer edge of the solar system. Human battleships, smaller but highly maneuverable, advanced toward the metal horrors. The enemy, massive and relentless, appeared to anticipate conventional tactics. But humans no longer fought conventionally. Fighter crafts led the way, darting in unpredictable patterns. Magnetic pulse drones disrupted enemy coordination. Decoy vessels simulated large fleets to confuse the horror's sensors. Engineers on the Dauntless monitored energy waves, sending false signals that caused clusters of enemy machines to collide or self-destruct. Lieutenant Rami, aboard the Endurance, reported, "Captain, they're turning on each other." "The horrors are malfunctioning," Amara smiled. "That's exactly what we need. Keep them disoriented. Don't stop." Across the battlefield, humans struck with precision. Drones and fighter crafts targeted the joints and cores of the machines. Explosive pulses disabled their systems. Magnetic nets trapped clusters of the horrors, preventing them from regrouping. Every attack, every maneuver was unpredictable. No pattern, no rule, no routine. Humanity had learned the enemy's weakness. It could not anticipate creativity. On Earth, civilians monitored the battle through live transmissions. Families watched as human ingenuity reshaped the war. Engineers, scientists, and volunteers coordinated every effort. Humanity was united in purpose. They were not just defending a planet. They were fighting for survival, for recognition, for the future of intelligent life. Meanwhile, the elder species observed more closely. Some ships emitted low-frequency waves that subtly enhanced human energy shields. Others projected patterns that helped humans manipulate the horror's sensors. The elders had never intervened in this way before, yet humanity had earned their attention. Captain Amara issued new orders. We strike at their command clusters, isolate them, confuse them, make them fear humans. Fighter pilots J. Min and Lila Torres led daring maneuvers, weaving between massive machines and striking at exposed cores. Explosions rocked the enemy ranks. Machines turned on each other, malfunctioned, and self-destructed. Humanity was no longer reacting, they were leading. The tide of battle shifted rapidly. The metal horrors, once unstoppable, now faltered. Their formations broke. Their attacks became disorganized. Every advance by the human fleet further destabilized the enemy. Earth's defenses, once a shield, had become a spear. Humanity was striking decisively. In orbit, an elder species envoy projected a message, translated into human comprehension through advanced AI systems. The message was simple: you are remarkable. Your tactics, creativity, and unity surpass expectation. Continue, and you may shape the fate of more than your world. Amara allowed herself a small smile. Then let's make history, she said to her crew. The counterattack intensified. Humans used the planet itself strategically. Ocean currents were redirected to slow enemy movement. Magnetic fields distorted the horror's sensors. Cities served as energy nodes, amplifying pulses that interfered with enemy coordination. Every human, from pilot to engineer to volunteer, contributed. Every action mattered. The metal horrors responded with new aggression, but they were no longer in control. The humans dictated the battlefield. Explosions lit the sky as clusters of the horrors fell one by one. Machines twisted, malfunctioned, and self-destructed. Humanity had learned their weakness, rigidity. The horrors could not adapt to the unpredictable nature of human thought. Hours passed, and the battlefield grew chaotic. Fires burned across oceans and skies, but the human fleet pressed on. Fighters darted, battleships maneuvered, and engineers recalibrated weapons mid-flight. Every strike was precise, every defense adaptive. Humanity had become a force the galaxy had never seen. Small, young, but unstoppable through creativity and courage. By dawn, the outcome was clear. The metal horrors had been decimated, large clusters destroyed, command machines eliminated, and survivors fleeing the battlefield. Humans had not just survived, they had won. Earth and its fleet had proven that even a young species could challenge the unstoppable. Across the stars, the elder species communicated quietly. Their ancient wisdom recognized the magnitude of what had occurred. Humans had done what no one else had. They had not just defended, they had taught the invincible to fear them. On Earth, Captain Amara addressed the fleet and the world. Today, we have shown the galaxy that humanity is not small, not weak, and not insignificant. We are creative, brave, and unstoppable when we unite. The metal horrors will return, but so will we. Stronger, wiser, and ready. Humanity will not just survive, we will thrive. The response was immediate. Ships cheered. Cities erupted in celebration. Humans had done more than win a battle. They had rewritten expectations. The young species from a small blue planet had proven their worth, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. The elder species, now watching openly, began to see humans in a new light. Not as naive children, but as equals, capable of challenging threats no other civilization could. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the remaining metal horrors regrouped, cautious, hesitant, aware that their next encounter with humanity would be far more dangerous. Captain Lin gazed at the horizon from the deck of the Dauntless. Smoke and fire from the battle still lingered, yet the air was filled with hope. Humanity had turned the tide. They had faced the unstoppable and emerged victorious. They had shown the galaxy that heart, Courage and ingenuity could rival any technology no matter how advanced. She whispered quietly, almost to herself. We are human. And humans do not back down. We adapt, we survive. We win. The battle had shifted. Humanity had not only survived the metal horrors, they had led the fight. The galaxy had witnessed it, and the elder species would not forget. The young species from Earth had risen, their ingenuity and courage marking them as a force no one could ignore. And above it all, Captain Amara knew the final wave would come. The horrors would return, perhaps stronger, perhaps more cunning, but humans were ready. Together they had turned the tide. Together they would face whatever the galaxy sent their way. Humanity was no longer a young, insignificant species. They were leaders, innovators, and survivors. In the endless expanse of space, the galaxy waited. But Earth, united and unbroken, had already begun to write a new story. A story of courage, ingenuity, and the power of being human. The galaxy held its breath. The metal horrors, once relentless and unstoppable, had been driven back. But they were not gone. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, remnants of the machines regrouped, rebuilding and adapting, preparing for a final assault. Earth's fleets, battered yet undiminished, floated silently in orbit, ready for whatever came next. Captain Amara Lynn stood on the deck of the Dauntless, gazing at the endless expanse of stars. Humanity had survived the previous waves, had fought the seemingly unstoppable, and had turned the tide. Yet Amara knew the final challenge would be the hardest. The horrors had learned, evolved, and would strike with precision. Captain, Lieutenant Soren said, pointing at the sensors. They're approaching. The final wave is massive, bigger than anything we've seen before. Amara clenched her jaw. Then we meet them with everything we have. Humanity does not wait. We fight, we adapt. We survive. Let's show them what humans are made of. Across Earth, preparations mirrored the fleet's resolve. Cities became fortified hubs. Factories produced weapons at record speeds, and civilians volunteered in droves. Scientists coordinated with engineers, designing new drones, energy shields, and tactical systems. Even the elder species had taken note, subtly enhancing human technology and strategy, though never intervening directly. Humanity had earned their trust and their respect. The metal horrors descended in massive clusters, their forms gleaming like polished steel. Their numbers were staggering, yet human strategy had evolved beyond mere defense. Earth's fleets, combined with clever planetary tactics, were ready to strike first. Remember, Amara said to her captains, we are unpredictable. That is our greatest weapon. They may have power, but they cannot anticipate our courage, our ingenuity, or our unity. Fight smart. Fight together. Fight as humans. The first contact was violent. The horrors surged forward, but humans met them head-on. Their weapons precise, their movements unpredictable. Fighter crafts weaved through massive machines, striking weak points with laser-guided accuracy. Explosive drones created chaos, while magnetic pulse cannons disrupted enemy coordination. In orbit, elder species ships observed silently. They had rarely seen such determination. Humans were small, young, yet their creativity had turned the battlefield into a nightmare for machines that had consumed entire civilizations. The elders whispered among themselves, exchanging calculations, predictions, and warnings. Humanity was no ordinary species. They were a force of ingenuity. Below on Earth, cities were alive with anticipation. Families, scientists, and volunteers watched screens transmitting live images of the battlefield. Every success by the human fleet sent waves of hope through the planet. Humanity had transformed fear into resolve. Lieutenant Rami aboard the Endurance shouted through the comms, "Captain, a large cluster is breaking formation." "Magnetic pulses are causing malfunctions." Amara nodded. "Good, push forward. Exploit the chaos." Fighter pilots Jamin and Lila Torres led daring maneuvers, darting into clusters of machines, striking exposed cores, and retreating before retaliation. Explosions rocked the enemy ranks, metal twisted and groaned, and the remaining horrors struggled to maintain cohesion. Humanity's tactics were evolving even mid-battle. Engineers on the Dauntless modified drone behaviors on the fly, creating new attack patterns. Battleships changed formation dynamically, forcing the horrors to constantly recalculate. No machine had ever faced an opponent that could adapt so quickly, think so creatively, and act with such courage. The metal horrors command units, once the driving force of the attacks, were now isolated. Humans had targeted them precisely, Using a combination of decoys, drones, and magnetic interference, the machines turned on each other in confusion, collisions and self-destruction becoming common. In the chaos, Captain Amara realized something remarkable. Humanity was not just fighting to survive, they were teaching the galaxy a new lesson. Strength alone did not win wars. Creativity, courage, unity, and adaptability could defy even the greatest threats. Hours passed, and the battle continued. Fires burned across the Pacific and in orbit. Explosions lit the night sky, and waves of energy pulsed through space. Yet humanity pressed on, relentless, daring, and united. Every strike was calculated yet unpredictable, every move a testament to human ingenuity. Finally, after hours of intense combat, the metal horror's formations collapsed entirely. Command clusters were destroyed, smaller machines malfunctioned or self-destructed, and the survivors fled into deep space. Humanity had not just survived, they had won decisively. Across Earth, celebrations erupted. Ships returned to orbit, battered but triumphant. Cities cheered, people embraced, tears flowing freely. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. They had turned fear into courage, chaos into strategy, and weakness into strength. In orbit, the elder species ships moved closer. For the first time, they engaged directly, but not to fight. They transmitted a wave of recognition and respect, subtle yet profound. Their message was clear. Humanity has proven itself. You are no longer a young, insignificant species. You are a force to be respected. Captain Amara Lynn addressed her fleet and the planet. Today we have done more than survive. We have shown the galaxy that humans are brave, creative, and unstoppable when united. The metal horrors may return, but we are ready. Earth and humanity will endure, adapt, and prevail. We are human, and that is our greatest strength. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships saluted, cities erupted in celebration, and humanity embraced a new reality. They were no longer merely survivors, they were leaders, innovators, and a young species recognized across the galaxy. The elder species, watching silently, understood that humans had changed the balance of power, not through age, size, or raw strength, but through ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. They had not only survived the metal horrors, they had dominated through thought and will. In the days that followed, Earth rebuilt. Ships were repaired, cities restored, and knowledge shared. Scientists worked with the elder species to improve human technology. Engineers refined energy shields, weapons, and ships. Humanity had not only defended their planet, they had advanced their civilization in ways no one could have imagined before the battle. Captain Amara Lynn stood once more on the deck of the Dauntless, gazing at the stars. The horrors were gone for now, but the galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven itself. They had inspired hope, not just for themselves, but for countless species watching silently from afar. We are young, Amara said softly, but we are humans, and humans do not back down. We survive, we adapt, we overcome. Today we have shown the galaxy our strength. The elder species ships remained in orbit, quiet yet observant. They had witnessed a young species from a small blue planet rise above fear, defeat the unstoppable, and redefine what it meant to fight. Humans had earned a place in the galaxy, not as pawns, not as curiosities, but as equals, innovators, and leaders. On Earth, life began to normalize. People returned to their homes, schools, and workplaces. But humanity had changed. The knowledge of their own strength, the memory of battles won against impossible odds, and the respect of ancient civilizations would remain forever. Fighter pilots, engineers, scientists, and soldiers became legends. Stories of daring maneuvers, heroic sacrifices, and ingenious strategies spread across the planet and into orbit. Humanity had proven that even the smallest species, when united and creative, could challenge the greatest threats the galaxy had ever known. Captain Amara Lynn looked at the horizon one last time before leaving the deck. The future was bright, uncertain, and full of opportunity. Humanity had survived the metal horrors, gained the respect of the elder species, and secured its place among the stars. The galaxy would never forget the courage, ingenuity, and spirit of the humans who had faced the impossible and won. As the sun rose over Earth, Amara whispered more to herself than anyone else. We are human. We have survived, and the galaxy will remember us. Always. The story of humanity's triumph spread across the stars. The metal horrors had been defeated. The elder species had taken note, and Earth, once a small, overlooked planet, had become a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and the unstoppable spirit of humans. Humanity had survived, adapted, and won. They had proven that age, size, and raw power were not the ultimate measure of strength. In the galaxy's eyes, humans were young but bold, clever, and fearless. And that was enough. For the first time, the galaxy knew. When humans fight, they do not merely survive, they rise.